What's up, y'all? You're listening to the Brazos Sports Prepscast. I'm Alex Miller, joined always by Andrew Tenio and Jake Weiss. Fellas, it's been a long off season, but alas, the Texas high school football season is here. So let's preview a little bit of the action here in the Brazos Valley. We're going to do some preseason superlatives. Words are hard.
Yeah.
Words are hard.
It's been a minute since we've done this.
Been a minute since we've done this, guys. Just first, what's kind of the overall vibe of this area going into the 25 season, Jake?
For me, I'd say across the board, it really feels like a new era. You think about guys, especially specifically, I guess, here in town, but in the area as well, because there are some schools in our area that have a lot of veterans. I look like a team like Leon; they have 10 starters back. They're not newcomers, right? We all know those guys. But I feel like across the board, it sort of feels like a new era. Kind of the gone are the headliners, if you will. Your Will Hargets, your Jaquise Martins, your Jaden Jacksons. So you're really going to see a lot of new guys, I feel like, step up this year and kind of have to fill in those roles that, a lot of multi-year starters, they're gone now. So who's going to step up and fill those roles?
I kind of feel the same way, but as well towards the quarterback position. I know it's kind of been a discussion we talked about over the summer, but 4 brand new starting quarterbacks in the local area for the local public schools. Brazos Christian's breaking in a new quarterback this year, so the signal callers as well is going to be a lot different, just piggybacking off what Jake said in terms of the newness of this year.
My impression is that the overall level of play in the area is going to be pretty solid this year.
Yeah.
I'm curious how many teams emerge as possible kind of like statewide contenders, but I think what we're going to see is we're going to have a lot of teams at minimum make the playoffs. Mm-hmm. I think the overall level of play is pretty solid this year, even though you've got to replace a lot of guys that we've come to know these last couple of seasons. Mm-hmm. I think this is going to be a very competitive season, especially down in the lower levels, maybe at the 2A, 3A ranks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd 100% agree there.
Yeah. So, well, hey, let's just get on with it, okay? Give me your teams. Give me the team to watch. Who's the first one that jumps off the page that you're like, okay, if I gotta buy this team as a state title contender, who am I buying?
Remond.
Okay, tell me why.
Remond. They got to the state semis last year. They lost to Shiner. I bet you they run into Shiner again. Excuse me. Bet you they run into Shiner again. Maybe potentially in the state semi. I guess that would probably be where they'd meet them again. But yeah, they bring back a lot of guys. I know they lose a couple guys off that offensive line who, they had some pretty big dudes. Alex, you and I were at that state semifinals. Some pretty big dudes, especially for 2A. You're going like, hey buddy, you can maybe play up at 5A, 6A level. But I really do like what Bremond brings back. Tank Scott, Sam Kozowski. It's sort of, they're one of those teams like you talked about in the 2A lower levels where they're not newcomers. They're getting the band back together and all right, let's hopefully get all the way to Arlington.
I'm leaning towards the Lexington Eagles. They've kind of been building the last couple of years, building for this chance, this situation to make it to state. You got one of the best signal callers in the area in Case Evans. You've got Noah Wright-Harris at running back. I believe Weston Byer, one of their top receivers, I believe he's coming back. I know they had a guy or two leave for graduation. Cutter Smith's an all-state level offensive lineman, and I talked to Coach Moll, and he was really excited about the secondary as well. They bring back all their guys back in the secondary. Just a lot of returning pieces, a lot of guys that have been there, done that. Also at the state 7-on-7 tournament this past summer, which has kind of been a staple for them. There's a lot to be excited about, a lot returning, and a lot of hurdles and challenges they'll have because their schedule. Because they've got such a tough schedule this year.
I'm gonna stay local. I'm gonna go Brazos Christian. Mm-hmm. Give me the Eagles at Brazos Christian. Look, I know they've got a new coach in Jordan Black, but he's got a good track record coming from Fort Bend Christian Academy. This is a talented Brazos Christian team. I know they lost Cooper Murr. He's transferred to Bryan High, but Hudson Jacobus is a guy they got a lot of faith in. They've got a pretty solid offense, I think, with some younger guys stepping up. And the thing that gets me is they've got good pieces on both sides of the line. You think guy like Grant Bame. I know Coach Black, his son has transferred in. Mm-hmm. He's a pretty big kid, and they've got this secret weapon they don't really want to talk about, but his name's Carson Ramsey.
From Aggieland Homeschool, right?
Yeah. So Coach may not appreciate us name dropping him, but he's going to be a guy to watch. And so I think when you look across the board, what Brazos Christian has got, they played for a state championship last season. This is a team that they know how to get there. I think they're going to be able to pick up where they left off, and they've kind of tailored a little bit of their scheme to fit more of their personnel that they've got this season with kind of more of a pro-style quarterback. Watch out for the Eagles. They're a dangerous team out there in Northwest Bryan.
Yeah, we talk about Brazos Christian may not be a school teams want to go against. I don't know if I'd want to go up against Coach Black either. He stacks the weights in the. I've seen the videos.
He can probably lift more than the three of us combined.
He probably could.
When you said his pedigree, I was gonna be like, his pedigree's not those videos. Like
I've seen the videos, man. Yeah, I don't want to go over see that.
I went up to say hi to him at high school football media day, and I was like, man, I feel like a little kid. Like this guy's massive.
But hey, what a nice guy too. Like,
it
was great getting to talk to him, get to know him a little bit. So we're looking forward to.
Giant, so.
We're looking forward to covering him this season and his team. So hey, give me a surprise team that you think might be a little under the radar right now, but if everything goes right, they could make a run.
Andrew, you go first. I went first on the last one.
I've been up with them for a bit because they kind of put the pieces together late last year. They were able to make the state 7-on-7 tournament. They had a deep run. The Hearn Eagles. I'm really excited to see what Hearn does this year. I know they've got a new quarterback this year, Zayron Binford, who's making the transition from linebacker. But they won the last, I think, like 5 of the last 6 games to end last year. Normally, if you make the state 7-on-7 tournament, it's a good chance you're probably a playoff team because most teams end up making the playoffs. And they made a run to the semifinals of that. They have a lot of skill position that I like. I know they're losing Darren Mitchell, but Kellen Bowser's a really good option to replace him. They got a good running game. There's a lot of sneakiness about Hearn that I'm really excited to see and see if they put the pieces together and kind of continue the momentum that they had with the run from last year.
Jake?
Ooh, okay. I really didn't give me enough time to think of my answer.
You want me to go next?
No. Actually, yeah. Let's have you go next.
Okay. This team has fallen maybe a little bit from bona fide contender to now I'm curious what it's going to look like, and that's the Burnham Cubs. And I say this because we're recording this on a Thursday. News came out today that star running back Jacoby Dixon is no longer with the team. That's a huge hit for Burnham. There's no way around it. I mean, he is one of the best running backs in the state, certainly one of the best running backs in the country for his class. But look, Burnham's got a really good team outside of Jacoby Dixon. They've got a solid defense. Danny Youngs is a really good ball coach. The problem is you lose a really good player and a talent like that, and oh, by the way, you might be in the toughest region in the entire state. That is going to be a very competitive region. You got Richmond Randall, the defending state champions. Iowa Colony's really good. Think about a team like Fort Bend Marshall that's always got athletes. Bastrop out of nowhere is a team that all of a sudden is in the mix. And so if you're Brenham, not to mention, isn't Waco U in their district too?
Yeah.
They are.
And Waco U, they're hoping to have a pretty successful season as well.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that Burnham can't compete without Jacoby Dixon, but I'm curious to see what the Burnham team looks like without him because he was such an integral part of their team last year. But at the same time, Burnham's still a really talented team, so don't write off the Cubs entirely just yet.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this a little bit before we press record, but just, they played without Jacoby in the Richmond Randall game last year, and it was a 27-14 game, very competitive game, and bring back 16 returning starters even with Jacoby out. So just to piggyback off that, they've proved they can play without him.
All right, I think I have my answer. I hope I have my answer at least.
Well, it's your turn, so you better.
Yeah, it's a good point. I feel like I'm ordering at a restaurant, like I'll let everybody else go first. No, I think I'm going to go Franklin. I don't know if they necessarily kind of can qualify for kind of our sleeper pick because everybody knows Franklin. But, I mean, they didn't make it to state last year, and it was kind of funny when I was talking to Coach Fannin to preview the season. I was kind of like hesitant to be like, okay, how do I characterize this season? They still won 10 games. They lose to the eventual state champ. So I used my words very carefully because I was like, hey, you had a pretty good season, coach. And he was like, no, it was a really good season. Disappointing end, but it was really good. And which made me kind of laugh because you just go, okay, Franklin, we've seen what they can do the last 4 years. They've been to state 4 years in a row. So it was kind of funny to me, at least, that I said pretty good. And he's like, no, don't get it twisted. It was really good. Mm-hmm. I really like what Franklin could do this year. I mean, you kind of wonder about a team like Columbus, who they lost to. I mean, Columbus has got to have to rebuild. So, Alex, you and I talked about this actually right before like Andrew said, right before we hit record. But, you kind of wonder, like, okay, can Franklin kind of reestablish themselves in that region 3? I mean, they come in at number 2 in the preseason, and I think they're behind Columbus. So, you got to kind of wonder, okay, are they going to be able to meet Columbus again, or how's that going to shake out once we get to the playoff time?
Yeah, Franklin is definitely an intriguing team because, look, this is a program that knows how to win. They like winning football games, and they're pretty good at it. So they're going to have to rely on some new faces. They've been blessed up there in Robertson County with some guys that have been playing for 3-4 years, and they've got some guys that have been playing for 3-4 years. Can guys like R.J. Fulton and Walker Anderson kind of lead this
Bubba Jackson,
team? Yeah, you got Bubba still there as well. And so can they lead the group this year and be able to put together another special season there in Franklin?
I have one more, if you don't mind.
Yeah, well, let's hear it. We got 20-something teams, so
fair. I wanted to bring up another team that had a really deep and kind of surprising run. I'm curious what Trey Allen can cook up in year 2 at Navasota. They bring back their quarterback and Jace Jablonski. They bring back some good players at skill position. They lost their running back and top receiver, but they still have some guys that they're kind of confident in, and they like how their defense is progressing. So Navasota's another one I want to keep an eye on. Like, if they can continue that, late season surge that they kind of had to make the, I think, 3rd or 4th round, something like that, when maybe many people weren't expecting that when they started the year.
Yeah, the Rattlers really caught fire there in about mid-October, and they were a hard team to beat. Yeah. And I'm trying to remember who they lost to. Kilgore, who there's no shame in losing to Kilgore. First of all. No. Navasota, definitely a team to keep an eye on. Mm-hmm. What's interesting, 2 teams we have not mentioned that I feel like we normally mention in one of these 2 segments, A&M Consolidated and College Station. And I think that both of those teams have the potential, but they each have their own question marks that need to be answered. But if they can get it figured out, they've got plenty of potential to make a run, either of them, out of that region that I think is going to be pretty competitive yet again with Angleton, LaPorte, Pflugerville, Weiss, and some others.
I'm really curious about what College Station can replace the skill position, more specifically. Not saying that they've been able to, over the years, been able to prove that they can. I'm just curious who does step up in that position. I know we talked about some guys, Trey Walton moving over to receiver to running back, who could be the guy alongside Zach Kosser. That's where I point at specifically with College Station, what I'm really interested in seeing.
Jake, how about you for the Tigers? What do you got looking for them?
Yeah, I think the one thing, it's funny. I think they've got a little bit more veterans on defense. So it's weird I'm picking defense, but just like, to me, go back to the point I originally made where it feels like a new era. For me, at least on defense for Consol, I really feel like it's a new era. They've got a new defensive coordinator, although things haven't changed too much on that side of the ball. But also, you think about guys like Puna Fouquetti, Clifton Gooden, Nazir Adams on the D. That's just the guys on the D line. They're all gone. You look at linebackers, a guy like Wesley Couch, Cannon Keechnik. So a lot of the guys that we've gotten to know the last couple of years, they're gone. They still bring back some guys. Wyatt Beavers on the D line, Simon Starks in the secondary. A guy that's actually moving over to the secondary. We've talked about him before, Darius Roberts. He'll be playing both ways, receiver.
A guy that people have forgotten about that is returning, Ethan Walton at linebacker. Well. That's going to be a huge addition back to that defense.
Yeah, Hagen Schmeller at linebacker, Riley O'Bannon, Taj. I mean, they're like, once you start looking at the roster, you go, okay, there are more guys on here I know.
The defense might turn out to be pretty salty. They just got a lot of new names.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that, I think probably for them, it's going to be a lot of guys. You'll recognize names, you'll recognize numbers, but it's going to be a lot of guys that go, oh, yeah, we saw this guy play, a couple snaps last year. Now he's the starter. But that's really the thing for me that I'm excited to see that side of the ball, kind of what that looks like for them, just because, these last 2 years, specifically last year too, defense has really been the calling card for them, I think, since Coach Schmidt got here. I think that's fair to say. And now they kind of enter a new era with, like I said, names but a lot of guys that, we might not have seen as a starter last year, maybe in a backup role.
One thing on College Station, too, one thing that gives me optimism for them, they have a lot of returning veterans on the offensive and defensive lines.
Yeah.
They've got veterans and they've got some size up there that when you're at the 5A level, you've got to have that to compete at a high level. And I think that they've got some of those pieces. Mm-hmm. And I think whereas maybe they have some question marks at running back, they're breaking in a new quarterback, or at least a quarterback who hasn't been the full-time starter if it ends up being Keaton Johnson. Yeah. He had some varsity experience last year for sure. Mm-hmm. You're trying to get some of the new receivers getting going. Having a veteran offensive line and having a pretty core returned defensive line with some other pieces in that secondary as well, I think that can be really beneficial for College Station as guys start getting going and if they can get hit in a stride later in the season as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And if Coach Pryor and Coach Schmidt are listening, they're probably really happy we just bragged about the trenches. So specifically Coach Schmidt.
Really
Coach Schmidt. He's the O-line guy for
exactly,
sure.
Yeah.
So, hey, how about Brian and Rudder? What's kind of the outlook for the Rangers and the Vikings?
When we're looking at Rudder, I'm really excited to see, and I've been able to talk to Izar and the linebacking coaches specifically a couple times. They really love this front seven, and they feel like they're really deep along the defensive line, the linebacking core. They bring back Jeremiah Duran, who was their kind of do-it-all outside linebacker. He was injured at the Willow Ridge game last year. He's coming back. You've got a lot of good pieces. Javion Richardson was a first-team All-District guy. He comes back. Brandon Brown kind of is that jack of all trades, can play close to the line, can play linebacker, can kind of do a little bit of everything. They're really excited about the line. I'm really just curious to see, similar to College Station, what the kind of skill position looks like. I mean, you lose Jaquise Martin, you lose one of the Cooks brothers, Jaden Erskine, Caden Holmes. You lose a lot of receiver. I'm really curious to see who kind of steps up in those roles. New quarterback as well with Javen Jesse. They've got a battle going on there between Ivan Barrett and Parker Neal. But they really are looking forward to that front seven being really good. And you mentioned the offensive and defensive lines. If you have good offensive defensive lines, it kind of makes things a little bit easier. They feel like they have that in both areas, so they're excited about what they can produce in that part.
Jake, how about the Vikings?
Yeah, Brian, to me, really exemplifies kind of this new era we're talking about, kind of theme. The defense, they've got some veterans, Chester Gooden Jr., Troy Odell, their linebackers, Carson Dodd, and I'm blanking on Will Bryan. There we go. Which should be easy to remember because his last name. Yeah. But
wow.
Yeah.
There you go.
There we go. I've thought about that every time his name comes up too. I'm like, it's easy to remember. Apologies there, guys. But yeah, the defense has got some veterans on it. The offense, it's kind of coming of age. You mentioned Cooper Murr. He's in a battle right now. He's one of three guys. So we'll have to see how that shakes out. And then really that offensive side of the ball for Brian, a lot of new faces. Now, granted, I think they only bring back 2 starters. Now, one of them is JaValen Wade, who did rush for...
It's not a bad person to bring back.
1,400-something yards, 14 touchdowns.
He was pretty dang good last year.
He led the district.
Yeah, led the district in rushing yards. So I got to say, if you're Brian, you're probably thinking, hey, we only bring back 2 starters, but the guy we bring back, one of them that we bring back, he's pretty dang good, so we can work with this. But yeah, that side of the ball, they've really got some things to figure out. Offensive line. Remember, last year, they've had 2 years in a row now. Brian has, last year's starters were 2-year returners. They were all seniors. So you got 5 new offensive linemen this year. That's going to be interesting. Wide receivers, another question mark for Brian. Terrence Lewis is gone. So they've got to figure out some things on that side of the ball. But the defense, I think they're really gonna lean on the defense early and probably the ground game too. Give JaValen the ball and kind of get out of his way and let's see what we can do.
Well, hey, what's a non-district game you've got circled that you'd like to watch if you could, and what's a district game that you got your eye on as we look at the schedules?
Ooh, I'll take this one first. I've got one right away, actually. Okay. Franklin Houston Legacy for me in non-district. The Lions get another crack at Keyshawn Henderson, number 1 quarterback in the state. Might be Houston. Nationally as well.
He's one of the top in the country.
At least top in the country. I think he's number 1 in the state. Mm-hmm. They're a prep school. It's a prep
I don't.
college prep school or
It's not UIL or TAPS. It's something else.
I don't really know, man.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a term for it.
I remember being on the podcast last year, not really even sure what it was, and then when they beat Franklin, I'm like, okay, we got to figure out who they are, and then we realized who Kashawn Henderson was. That was kind of an introduction. I'm like, okay, we're familiar now.
Yeah, but it was a good game last year. 48-45, I want to say. Houston Legacy won. Franklin hosting for the second year in a row. I don't know. Like, that's the other thing. I'm like, do they have a home stadium? I don't know if this is like an IMG situation where they come play you, but regardless, it should be a really good game. The Lions get another crack at them. This will be pretty late in non-district too for Franklin. I want to say it's Franklin's last game of non-district, and I think we talked about that last year. Franklin has a really tough non-district because nobody really, I mean, let's be honest here, nobody really wants to play them.
They got China Spring, they got Houston Legacy, they got Salina, and I think they're still looking for a game.
They play Lorena this year?
They do play Lorena. Yeah, they play Lorena.
Yeah.
So by that point too, Franklin's gonna be pretty battle tested. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of there won't be any questions like, oh, we got new guys. It's gonna be like, okay, we know how we're doing things now. Now we just gotta go out there and do it.
I'm juggling between two. If you want to take the
well,
next
then
one,
just give 2 games.
Okay. I'll start with Consol Forney. I think this one it was a really good game last year.
It was a really good game.
Consol goes up to
as the one who was there.
I was gonna say
Consol's going up to Forney. Forney's probably got one of the best quarterback running back duos in the state. Really excited to see. We talk about Consol and kind of figuring out who guys are. Well, there's kind of a big test with Forney and what they can do with their quarterback running back duo. So that one I'm excited about. Another one I'm gonna go a little lower in the classifications. This one may go a little under the radar just because of the 3A2 versus 2A1. I think Lexington Marlin can be interesting. Marlin's always that sneaky team that ends up winning 9 or 10 games. And I understand the classification jump, but Marlin's normally pretty scrappy team. So I'm kind of excited to see how Case Evans and them go up against a pretty good team like Marlin.
There's some good cross classification games. I think Madisonville's playing Dieball, 4A versus 3A. You've got Anderson Shiro. They're playing Crawford. That'll be a good game. And there was one more that I was thinking of. Brazos Christian versus Hearn, I think, will be a good game as well.
Yeah. It was a good game last year. It was a defensive game last year.
Yeah. So
and it's at Brazos Christian.
Yes,
too.
it is.
Yeah.
So there are some really good games in the area. One of which I think is going to be Brenham versus Huntsville. Now, it's going to be interesting to see what Brenham looks like post Jacoby Dixon, at least for now. And I think Huntsville's a team that Huntsville always has a pretty solid team.
Yeah.
So,
it's a top 10 matchup in the state. So
yeah.
And it's week 1, so
another week 1 matchup that I think. Okay, we're going to learn quite a bit about this team. College Station versus Klein Collins. That's going to be a pretty solid game as well. That was a game that College Station won last year by I think a touchdown at home, and they're opening up. They're the first game of the season I think on Thursday night.
Yeah, I was going to say spoiler alert for people who haven't looked at the schedule. The College Station's also the only school here in town that's going on the road week 1, so kind of adding to the intrigue there.
Bryan is hosting Magnolia West on Thursday night.
Yeah.
So
Klein Collins is a team that actually finished the year really strong.
They did,
and they're a top 50 team in 6A this year. They were a team that had a lot of hype going into last year, didn't quite get the start that they wanted, but towards the back half of the year, they ended up catching fire.
Okay, what's a district game that you guys are looking at?
Oh, easy. Consol College Station. I mean, that might be the top answer for everybody here, but yeah, I mean, I kind of actually just leave it at that. Enough said. I mean, they've played 7 times now. Always pretty much been a 1-score game. I think last year Consol won by 10, and that was like only the second time it's ever been more than a touchdown. So yeah, enough said there. Everybody knows what's at stake in week 4 there.
I'm probably gonna go for a pretty casual one, but it's a little bit different this year. I like Braemont Mart, but I know Mart has a new coach this year, and the coach that came from Robinson. So Braemont Mart, those are 2 teams that are probably gonna be vying for the region championship. I feel like that's got a heavy mid-November, late November vibes to that game. So I'm excited for Braemont Mart.
Take me to the 6-man level. Give me Allen Academy and St. Joe's, guys.
Oh.
Man, what a great rivalry. And I'm really curious how each of those teams is going to shake out this season. Allen's got some pretty solid returning pieces. They got a new head coach, but there's some familiarity because Alex Simpson was an assistant there the last 5 seasons. Brock Field's a guy. We talk about a lot of new guys in the area. Brock Field's a guy that's. I mean, he's been one of their dudes.
Yeah, he's a returner
for the last 3 years, and so he's entering his senior season. They've got some younger guys that they're hoping can be some big contributors. And Jake, I think you wrote the preview for the Eagles. Is that right?
I did, yeah. Which they also have a first-year head coach, but there's familiar. It's funny. It's weird. This isn't like a normal first-year versus first-year head coach matchup where like they kind of have to learn from like the school. You know, people in school tell them, "Hey, this is a big game," or the players go like, "Coach."
No, they get it.
Yeah, they get it because St. Joseph head coach Will Patterson, also the athletic director, he was there last year. Was just athletic director, but Coach Mike Forgione left. Patterson stepped up. He's head coach now. So, like you said, there's familiarity there. The players know him, and the school knows him. So it's not a normal first year. But yeah, St. Joseph's going to be real young this year. They've got like 3 seniors, 2 juniors. No, excuse me, 3 seniors, 4 juniors. But they've got like 25 guys. So
that's
sophomore,
quite a few.
for 6 man, that's a lot. It was funny too. Coach Patterson, we were talking in the preseason, and I asked him about that depth. It's like, hey, 25 guys, pretty good amount. You know, what you thinking? And he's like, actually, it's a good problem to have because, you know, our current uniform set only goes to 16. So he's like, you got to make some calls and order more. So he's like, it's a very good problem to have. So it's going to be interesting. I think by the time we get to that matchup, St. Joseph's probably going to go through some growing pains with so many young guys. But by the time they get to that matchup, sort of similar to the Franklin-Houston legacy, the young guys are going to have grown up, and, you know, they're going to be used to Friday Night Lights.
One more district matchup that I think is going to potentially be for a title: Hearn versus Centerville. It's gonna be a good game over there. Centerville's a team that has had a lot of success. I think we talk about some of the new players. They might fall under that category as well. But if we know one thing about Coach Hardy's teams, they're hard to beat, and they find ways to win football games.
And they're going to run the ball really well.
Oh, man, I kind of feel like Leon might have some...
Leon.
Talk about Leon.
Leon, Jake.
I was going to say, Leon, I feel like could play maybe spoiler to Hearn or Centerville in that district title race. You know, you got 10 returners on both sides of the ball back. I mean, this is Leon's kind of... It's weird. I talked about this with you guys. This wasn't, I guess, one of the questions for the superlatives, but there's a part of me that sort of feels like Leon could maybe be our Somerville of this year, and that they have a run that they haven't had in a while. Either haven't had in a while or just haven't ever had before. Like what, Somerville's playoff run, that was what, to the third or fourth round? That was the first time?
I think it was the third.
Third round. First time ever. So I don't know. There's a part of me that sort of feels like Leon could be that team this year. It feels weird to be like, who's the Somerville though this year? That's kind of a weird category to put someone in. But yeah, I feel like Leon, you got all those guys back. Landon Thomas is a senior. They've improved their win total every year. Last year they won 6 games. You sort of feel like, and they got up to a 5-1 start. So you feel like they can stay healthy because obviously at the 2A level, you know, if one of your guys goes down, that throws a real wrench in things. But I do feel like Leon can maybe play spoiler. Hearn and Centerville, I think they're going to be tough to beat. Leon and Centerville last year, I think it was like tied at halftime, and then Centerville ended up winning like 35-16. It was like 16-16 at the half. And then, so Centerville obviously kind of turned it on in the second half. But I really do feel like that's a matchup. Leon could maybe play spoiler, I think.
Well, anything else before we close it out?
We're a week away. Can't stop talking about it.
All right. Well, hey, that'll do it for this week's episode of the Brazos Sports Prepscast. We'll be back next week breaking down Week 1 action. Be sure to check theeagle.com for all of our coverage on high school football here in the Brazos Valley. We'll see you next time.